So thank you all once again for joining the Chaitanya Charitamrita Compact. We've covered 4 sessions already. This is the fifth one offered by the School of Bhakti. So today we watch we watch mercy begin to move with unstoppable force. That's why this session is called Expanding the Mercy. In the last session, we stood at one of the most painful and sacred turning points in the life of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. We saw him leave behind the sweetness of Navadvip, accept sannyas, and step onto the path of sacrifice for the upliftment of the world. We saw love become separation, and separation become the doorway to universal compassion. But today, that compassion does not remain still. Today, it begins to expand. This session is called Expanding the Mercy because now Mahaprabhu's mission spreads outward in wave after wave. He travels vast distances. He transforms holy places. He awakens forgotten souls. He engages kings and scholars and brahmanas and servants and lepers and householders and renunciants, all kinds. He sends devotees in all directions. He turns ordinary festivals into revelations. He takes the holy name beyond private, hidden devotion and makes it a civilization shaping force. So, as we begin, let us understand the greatness of what we are about to hear. This is not merely the story of one saint traveling and preaching. This is the golden avatar opening channels through which divine love will flow into the world. This is mercy becoming movement. This is compassion becoming mission. This is Mahaprabhu teaching us that love of God is not something to be hidden, restored, or admired from a distance. It's something to be carried, something to be sung, distributed, and shared. So before we move forward, let's briefly gather some of the threads from the previous session. We remember that Mahaprabhu accepted sannyas for 2 reasons. What was the 2 reasons? Anybody recall? The external and internal. What is external?
Spread the Harinam.
Yes, to spread Harinam. Another external reason, Harshanani?
He wanted to be a sannyasi so he'll be taken seriously.
That's right. That's right. Very good. Yes, he wanted to spread the holy name and he wanted to be taken seriously. That's exactly right. So he accepted sannyas externally so that he gets wider authority. Like Harshanani Mataji said, taken seriously. And also gives you greater mobility. Yes, Kusuma Mataji, you want to add?
No, I was going to do the internal.
Yes, please go ahead. What about the internal?
He had to experience the mood of Srimati Radharani.
That's right. That's right. So of course the external was, in that culture, sannyasi commanded respect, and that gave him access to people and places that will otherwise probably he wouldn't get access to. But internally, like Mataji said, he accepted sannyas to intensify his experience of Srimati Radharani's mood of separation from Krishna. So his renunciation was both missionary and mystical. So we also remember that Nityananda Prabhu redirected him. So it says, who misdirected Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and why? So Nityananda Prabhu redirected him to Shantipur. Why? Anybody recall? Why? Chaitanya Mahaprabhu wanted to go where? And where did he get misdirected?
He wanted to go to Vrindavan, but he wanted Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to see his mother before he went off. Sachi Mataji.
Yes. Sarah, you want to add to that?
Oh, no, I was just unmuting, getting ready.
Yes. I mean, see, it was Nityananda Prabhu who redirected him, or misdirected him to Shantipur. One for his mother, like Mataji said, and the other is mercy for the devotees. The devotees also didn't want to see him go away so far. And of course, Sachimata's heartfelt request that Mahaprabhu, you should choose Jagannath Puri instead of Vrindavan, because Jagannath Puri is much closer to home. Yes. Let's look at some of the other questions. So let's see. What are the reasons why he made Jagannath Puri his headquarters? Of course, the external reason was that he's close to his mother and he's close to the devotees. But what is the internal reason for Jagannath Puri? What does Jagannath Puri represent?
Represents Krishna.
Yes, but what specific form of Krishna, and why Lord Jagannath's form is particularly special compared to say Vrindavan?
Is it because it's his heart?
Sorry.
Is it because it's Krishna's heart that's represented there?
Yes, that's a big aspect. Yes, heart, but and something more specific. Gail Mataji, you want to add to that?
It's where Krishna is feeling separation from
Yes,
Radharani.
exactly. That's the point. Yes. Jagannath form is that special form of Krishna where he is feeling separation. Krishna is feeling separation from Radharani. Yes, very good. Okay. What two stories were told on the way to Jagannath Puri? What are the titles of the stories? Two stories. Okay, let's just say the names of the two different deities that he told the stories about. One story was about which deity?
Sakshi-gopāla.
Sakshi-gopāla, that's correct. And what about the other one?
Is that Kishore Gopinath?
Exactly. You got them both right. Kshirchor Gopinath and Sakshi-gopāla. Showing that the Lord is fully present in his deity form and that he lovingly reciprocates with his devotees. Yes, even in deity form, he does. He walks, he talks, all that. And we also recall why Nityananda Prabhu broke Mahaprabhu's danda. Anybody know sannyas danda? Yes, Harsharani Mataji?
He didn't need there was the danda was in sort of just one danda, and he said he didn't need it because he's the Lord. He doesn't need any dandas.
Sure. That's right. And any other point? So then,
and to do with oneness and Mayavadi philosophy, and that is not what we are about. It's about bhakti.
Yes.
So it is broken into three pieces.
Absolutely.
To take away that oneness concept.
Absolutely. Yes, both of them are the very most important points. That Mahaprabhu is beyond all the ordinary ashrams. And that this Vaishnava renunciation is not impersonal, but is full of offering of body, mind, and word. So that's why you get three pieces. Wonderful. Thank you. You're getting it exactly right. And then finally, we remember Sarvabhaum Bhattacharya, the great scholar of Jagannath Puri, who was delivered when Mahaprabhu revealed the true conclusion of the Vedanta, which is what? It's not impersonal absorption, but loving personal relationship with the Supreme Lord. And this recap brings us exactly to where we need to be, which is that the groundwork has been laid The renounced life has begun, and now the mercy begins to spread on a grand scale. Now we are entering deeper into the Madhya-lila. We talked about renunciation last time. Now we're going to propagation. The flow of nectar is still continuing, of course. But the current, you can imagine the river is widening now. You know how sometimes river is narrower, is widening. The current has widened. The previous section, the defining theme was renunciation. That renunciation was not an end in itself. It was preparation. It cleared the way for a more expansive mission. And now we begin to see what that mission looks like when it's moving, in motion. Mahaprabhu's life unfolds with extraordinary purpose. Renunciation leads to propagation. Propagation leads to aspiration, and aspiration leads to organization. Every movement prepares the next. Nothing is wasted. Nothing is random. Every shift in mood becomes the seed of another revelation. So when we speak of the flow of nectar, we should understand that divine love is not static. It's ecstatic. Real bhakti is alive. It moves. It seeks expression. It overflows its boundaries. It wants to reach others. The Lord does not reveal himself simply so that a few people, a few devotees can privately relish him. He reveals himself so that the world can be touched by that revelation. This slide helps us see that what follows is not like a disjointed or detached set of incidents. It's a rising force. Mahaprabhu's mercy is about to move through roads, through conversations and festivals and relationships and empowered preachers. The nectar is now flowing into society. One of the most dramatic expressions of that expanding mercy is Mahaprabhu's South India tour. South India is distinctly different in its culture and its language, and yet there's a very strong current of Vaishnavism there as well. So he travels an immense distance, covering thousands of miles. And everywhere he goes, he leaves behind transformed hearts, awakened devotion, and the sound of the holy name. This was not tourism. This is not even merely a pilgrimage, actually. This was a spiritual inundation. He went to give. He went to flood the place with love. Can you imagine Mahaprabhu moving through the land like a golden river of grace, touching people of every type. He met the Kurma Brahmana and taught him how to remain where he was and practice devotion sincerely. He met Vasudeva the leper and delivered him with compassion. He met an illiterate Brahmana whose heartfelt devotion surpassed the dry learning of many scholars. He entered the home of Venkata Bhatta and turned it into a place of theological sweetness. And above all, he met Ramananda Raya, with whom he would enter one of the most profound spiritual dialogues in all of Gaudiya literature. As he traveled, he visited holy places and temples. But he did more than just like visit temples. He spiritualized the journey itself. It wasn't ordinary. He activated dormant holy places with living devotion. He brought holy name into public life. You know, people weren't doing this. They weren't going on the street and chanting back then. He made it the new thing. It's a big deal. He didn't simply honor the tirthas. He deepened their significance by connecting them to the highest conclusions of bhakti. So the South Indian tour shows us a Lord who's not waiting for seekers to come to him. He goes out searching. He carries the mercy into the world. So among all the public victories in South India, there are also deeply confidential moments. Moments where Mahaprabhu reveals the inner heart of Gaudiya theology. One such exchange takes place with Venkata Bhatta in a warm and playful mood. Mahaprabhu gradually draws out the profound truths about Krishna's supreme sweetness and unique position as Rasaraj, the king of all rasa. This is not just intellectual argument. It is affectionate theology. It is truth being revealed through intimacy. He's showing that intimacy with the Lord, it's the highest. Krishna in the form of in Vrindavan is way more intimate and sweet than worshiping from a distance in awe and reverence. Not that awe and reverence is wrong. He's just revealing that there is something sweeter and more intimate available. And that is the highest, the tastes of and the flavors of loving exchange. So it is a 4,000-mile journey. We talked about the Kurma Brahmana. So this is, okay, let's talk about these. Of course, there's a conversation with Ramananda Rai, one of the crown jewels of Chaitanya Charitamrita. In that dialogue, Mahaprabhu leads Ramananda deeper and deeper through successive layers of spiritual understanding. Mahaprabhu asks him, what is the highest thing? What do people need to really know? So begin with dharma and moving through the fruits of action, karma, and passing beyond the lower conceptions of philosophy and entering into wisdom and spirituality, and then finally arriving at surrender and the highest reaches of divine love. It's definitely worth reading that section if you're interested in how, the philosophy progresses. It's amazing. This conversation with Ramananda Rai teaches us that spiritual life is progressive. One must not stop at external religiosity, be satisfied that I'm doing my agarbatti and my rituals and that, I'm good now. No. One must not stop at social duty. Oh, I'm taking care of my family and my parents and my children, and I'm taking care of my neighborhood. No, that's, of course, you got to do that, but you can't stop there. That's not everything. One must not stop even at liberation. Okay, now, I've secured that enough life, I'll be liberated from this world. That's not even the goal, believe it or not. One must go deeper until only pure, loving devotion remains. That is why these are called confidential conversations. They're not hidden because they're exclusive. They're hidden because they concern the most intimate truths of the soul's relationship with Krishna. It's really who we are at our core. If we want to summarize Mahaprabhu's South India tour, we can do so under these great victories, several great victories. First, there was the theological victories. Mahaprabhu clarified spiritual truth whenever there was confusion. He showed that devotion is the culmination of knowledge and the fulfillment of all scripture. Second, there were victories connected to holy sites and holy books. He reawakened the significance of sacred places and brought scriptural treasures into the orbit of his mission. Third, there's the victory of Harinam Sankirtan. Everywhere he went, he spread the holy name. He didn't merely preach doctrines. He gave people direct spiritual practice and experience. He gave them sound vibration, charged with divine potency. Can you imagine hearing Chaitanya Mahaprabhu sing the names as he's walking through a village? Can you just imagine just stepping out of your little hut and seeing, whoa, who's this golden figure? Incredible. And fourth, there were victories through meeting key personalities. Many of the people he encountered would become pivotal in the development of his mission, development of his teachings, and the unfolding of his Leela. So the South India tour was not only an inspiring travel narrative, it was one of the major expansion phases of Mahaprabhu's mercy. And we can learn a lot from that, like what he did, how he spoke to different people. He was planting seeds in theology, geography, and community, and history. The South Indian journey of Mahaprabhu is a profound example of compassion, outreach, and spiritual transformation. And if you think, okay, what's in it for me to learn? Well, just look what Prabhupada did. He went even beyond India. And so now we should be inspired by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's push to go everywhere, and Srila Prabhupada's push to give this to every town and village. Mahaprabhu traveled nearly 4,000 miles on foot. So hard to walk even a couple of miles on foot. He went 4,000. He spread the chanting of the holy names. So he met this Kurma Brahmana in the Kurma Kshetra, and he told him, just remain at home and simply chant and teach others. That's all you got to do. It's not very complicated. You don't need to be, a globetrotter. Everybody needs to travel the world. You just stay at home in your local area and simply chant and teach others. You don't need to be renounced. You don't need to take sannyas. That's an amazing point. Even the Mahaprabhu himself took sannyas so that he's more mobile and all that. But he wanted to kind of downplay that importance of sannyas by telling people, you're just as good. Just don't, it's not necessary. I'm just doing it for social reasons, but let's change the society so we don't need to be taking sannyas. Then he delivered Vasudev, the leper. He was filled with humility and devotion, and he embraced the leper. Of course, nobody touches lepers, but he embraced him, and the Lord not only cured the leprosy, but he revealed the power of sincere bhakti, that this is what it's about. And then, of course, we mentioned the Ramananda Rai Samvad, the conversation where they explored these highest truths of devotion. And after visiting the holy place and temples, a very touching moment, he empowered an illiterate Brahmana who could not read properly, but that Brahmana was just crying in love while trying to recite the Bhagavad Gita. And he affirmed that devotion is the main thing, not scholarship. That's the essence. He said, you know more than any scholar. You have realized who is Krishna. So overall, this journey demonstrates that pure devotion transcends social status, learning, circumstance, and language, and is accessible to everyone. Yeah. And then that conversation with Venkatapatra where he talks about Krishna having the highest flavor of love. Now, after inundating South India, Mahaprabhu returns. Let's see. Okay, sorry. He returns to Jagannath Puri, and the devotees are overjoyed to see him again. Now, Puri is no longer just a place where he resides. It's becoming the central hub of his expanding mission. So I'm just going to kind of summarize before we get there. I just want to summarize the South Indian part real quick. That the conversation that he had with Ramananda Rai, this is for us to take home. If someone asks, what did Chaitanya Mahaprabhu talk to Venkat Bhatt about? So the key point there was Krishna is the Rasaraj. He is the source of all different flavors of love, and a lot of intimate access is available to Krishna, with Krishna. In the Vishnu form may not be so much accessible. Ramananda Rai, what was the essence of what he spoke with him? You can remember this draws. Dharma, the results abandon the different varieties of dharma, focus on the wisdom. Wisdom is what the wise realization behind the scriptures, and then surrender being the highest. That pure devotion and love is what we're seeking, not even liberation. Right. So another interesting thing, sobering thing that happened, the story of Kala Krishnadas. So during the South Indian journey, Kala Krishnadas, who was actually an accompanying Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, became allured by some gypsies who kind of pulled him away, and he kind of got allured by them. And Mahaprabhu had to personally go and rescue him. Can you imagine? He left the company of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to go and hang out with these gypsies and their women. It's like, why would you do that? You're with the Lord, his most beautiful golden form. And the Lord didn't just leave him. He actually went into the camp of the gypsies and pulled him out of there and said, what are you doing? Get out of here. He personally went in to rescue him. And when they returned to Puri, the Mahaprabhu told him, I don't want to see you anymore. Now that may sound severe, but it teaches us something essential. Mahaprabhu is infinitely merciful, but his mercy is not sentimental softness. He can be compassionate and he can be strict. So you can imagine how heartbroken Kal Krishna must have been. Now, at the devotee's request, however, Kal Krishna Das is not rejected permanently. He is given service. Mahaprabhu sends him to Navadvip to inform the residents that he is now in Jagannath Puri. This is a beautiful lesson. Even someone who stumbles can be brought back into service. But mercy does not erase accountability. Rather, it redirects the person toward purification. So these are some of the victories we talked about. Now, with the arrival of the Navadvip devotees back in Jagannath Puri, it come two especially important associates, Swarup Damodar and Govind Das. So they arrived. Swarup Damodar and Govind Das. Their arrival is not incidental. It is spiritually strategic. Mahaprabhu's life in Puri is entering a new phase. And now the Lord is surrounded by those who can support both his external mission and his internal moods. Govinda Das comes on the order of Ishwara Puri to serve Chaitanya Mahaprabhu personally. His service is intimate. He's very good at what he does. It's practical. It's constant. Now, Sarup Damodar, however, occupies a very special role. Sarup Damodar is identified as Lalita Sakhi in the Krishna Lila. Lalita Sakhi is a very intimate associate of Radharani. So Sarup Damodar is uniquely qualified to accompany Mahaprabhu when the Lord enters the inner relishing of Srimati Radharani's moods. So Sarup Damodar is a very important personality. Remember that name. This is a profound point. Mahaprabhu's mission is outwardly expanding, but inwardly, you have to understand it's both, okay? And it's being revealed to us that inwardly also it's deepening. The outer and the inner dimensions of his Leela are both being arranged by him with perfect precision. He's the Lord, of course, he can do that. So these confidential servants that are coming at these different points in time They're not merely helpers, they're essential participants in the unfolding of His divine purpose, inner and outward, both. So, let's see. Yeah, now I stopped sharing for a minute. I just wanted to kind of talk about something that's not on the slides. So this is the map. Now, the attention shift toward one of the most important annual festivals in Mahaprabhu's Jagannath Puri pastimes. What's the most important festival in Jagannath Puri? It's the Rath Yatra festival. So the Bengali Vaishnavas arrive. When you say Bengali from Navadvip area, they start coming to Jagannath Puri, which is a different state. That's in Orissa. They start moving south to Jagannath Puri. And the atmosphere becomes electric with anticipation. And Mahaprabhu sends them to these Veda Kirtan parties throughout Jagannath Puri. There's special Kirtan. They go out in public. And the city, you can imagine, is filled with the kind of Kirtan that people have never witnessed before. The sound is sweet and powerful and spiritually surcharged. Even the king there, who is, his name is Prataparudra. He hears it, this Kirtan, and he feels its power. He asks Sarvabhaum Bhattacharya about this astonishing group. And Sarvabhaum explains that this Kirtan is a special creation of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And that this, the chanting of the holy name is infused, my dear king, with this pure love of God. The king was just moved by that. Right? Then comes Gundicha Marjanam, the cleansing of the Gundicha temple. Now, this is far more than just housekeeping. Gundicha Marjanam is Mahaprabhu's most practical and instructive leelas. Before the great ecstasy of Rath Yatra can unfold, there must be three things. You have to have association of Vaishnavas, you have to have chanting of the holy name, and you have to have cleansing of the heart. It's not only about a temple in Jagannath Puri, it's about our own lives. If we want the Lord to enter our heart in a deep, meaningful way, the heart must be cleaned, must be cleansed. Anarthas means unwanted things have to be swept away and scrubbed and washed. So Mahaprabhu is not merely preparing for a festival, he's teaching the anatomy of spiritual ecstasy. That's how you prepare. Gundicha Marjanam. Now we arrive at Rath Yatra itself. And here Mahaprabhu reveals two dimensions at once. See both the external and the internal. We see both. Externally, Rath Yatra is a massive preaching event, right? It's a public, very colorful, it's huge, larger than life. It's public spirituality at its most dramatic. Even when you do it in the West, like big, like in New York City, there's big carts and Fifth Avenue is blocked off. It's dramatic. But in Puri, it's like so huge. Jagannath majestically rides out. The crowds gather, the kirtan resounds, and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu floods the atmosphere with devotion. This is outreach through beauty, through sound, through movement, and the sacred presence of Lord Chaitanya. Can you imagine if you're one of these members in the crowd, just all being swept away, raising your hands like this, and the weather is perfect, and here's Chaitanya Mahaprabhu glowing with that golden glow and jumping and dancing and so gracefully and so beautifully, and more than 7 feet tall, with his lotus eyes and his tears just wetting the soil and the ground. Incredible. And that's just external. Internally, Rath Yatra is something far deeper. Mahaprabhu is relishing the mood of Srimati Radharani, trying to bring back Krishna, back to Vrindavan. Pulling the cart, can you imagine Radharani pulling the cart of Krishna, back to Vrindavan? See, to understand this, we must remember that in Krishna Lila, in the background, Krishna left Vrindavan and later met the residents of Vraja all the way out there in Kurukshetra, because Kurukshetra is a holy place. But the gopis didn't want a royal Krishna surrounded by power and chariots and public grandeur. The gopis wanted the simple cowherd Krishna of Vrindavan. They wanted intimacy, not majesty. They wanted the flute player of the forest, and not the prince of a royal assembly. Rath Yatra reenacts this mood. This is something we can reflect on when we are pulling the Rath next time. Just forget about all the crowds and people stepping on our feet and other friends we have to meet. Try to meditate on this immense sweetness. They want the simple flute prayer of the forest. Come back home. That's the mood. The Jagannath Puri represents that Kurukshetra. And Gundicha temple represents Vrindavan. Jagannath is Krishna on the chariot. Mahaprabhu is in Radharani's mood, dancing before him, pulling the chariot, weeps and leaps and cries out and enters this indescribable ecstasy. This is why his dancing is so extraordinary. It is not merely festival joy. It is this eruption of the deepest divine separation and longing. Rath Yatra becomes the public revelation of the innermost heart of Gaudiya theology. What you see here in this picture, this is the heart of hearts. Mahaprabhu just looking deeply into Jagannath, and Jagannath smiling back, and Mahaprabhu just leaping into the air with tears and separation. This, my dear devotees, is what it's all about. This is why we are learning about Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who he is, what he does, why he does, and why we find ourselves also drawn to him, drawn to this movement, drawn to Jagannath Puri, drawn to Jagannath Rath Yatra, drawn to Srila Prabhupada's revelations. This is why. Now, we come to one of the most moving stories in this section. The story of the king, this king Pratap-rudra. So from the moment he witnesses Mahaprabhu and his devotees, Pratap-rudra becomes deeply attracted. He sees the beauty, the effulgence, the devotion, the kirtan, and he longs intensely for Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's darshan. But when Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya brings this request to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, The Lord refuses. See, for a sannyasi, very close association with worldly rulers is spiritually dangerous. And so externally, Mahaprabhu remains very strict. Now, this becomes a great test of the king's heart. He could have become offended. He's like, I'm the king. What are you talking about? So what is sannyasi? He has to come here. He has to meet me. No, he could have used his power to force access at the point of the sword. Instead, he becomes humble and desperate. He even says that if he does not receive Mahaprabhu's mercy, then what is the value of his kingdom, value of his body, value of his life even? He starts crying, and the devotees, they console him, and they guide him patiently. Mahaprabhu then gives mercy in small installments. What are the installments of mercy? First, he sends a garment. He sends a cloth, little cloth from Mahaprabhu. Later, he agrees to see the king's son, but not the king. I'll meet the son. It's okay. Meeting the son is not impure, it's not contaminating. This little boy. And then finally, the devotees advise him, why don't you sweep at Rath Yatra? Sweep in front, do this menial service. Take the low position, be a street sweeper in front of the Lord. And then later, he's dressed, the king dressed simply just as a poor man, a regular guy, without any royal identifying marks. And he approaches Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in the garden and massages his lotus feet. And he recites the Gopi Gita, this few verses from Gopi Gita, from the Bhagavatam. This is a very song of separation that matches Mahaprabhu's inner mood. It's amazing. At that point, the Lord's heart melts. And the mercy descends fully upon Prataparudra. This story teaches us how darshan, the vision of the Lord, is truly attained. Not through position, not through entitlement, not through influence, but through longing, through humility, taking the Lord position, through the guidance of the devotees, through patience, and through service. These are the keys: longing, humility, guidance, patience, service. These are the keys that give us access to the mercy of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Now we come to the central theme of the session. Mahaprabhu is no longer only giving mercy personally. He's now expanding that mercy through others. He's empowering. He begins to weave a network. He builds a network of preachers and some of his servants. And he tells Advaita Acharya, please go and preach in Navadvip. He tells Nityananda Prabhu to go throughout Bengal, not just Navadvip, all over the place in Bengal, and preach in all the villages. He tells Srivas Thakur to continue Kirtan in the home, because his home is famous for Kirtan Mela every day. In other words, Mahaprabhu is decentralizing the mission without diluting it. He is empowering different devotees according to their nature and their capacity. And that is such an important principle. Not everyone serves in the same way. Not everyone travels. Not everyone teaches publicly. Not everyone plays the same role. But everyone can preach from the heart. And that's what matters most. The measure is not visibility. The measure that Mahaprabhu used was sincerity. Sincerity means a clean heart, really wanting it and not wanting anything else, just wanting Krishna. Then comes the pastime with Amogha. Amogha is the son-in-law of Sarabhaum Bhattacharya. So Sarabhaum Bhattacharya has a daughter, right? And she's married to this fellow known as Amogha. Now, even in a spiritually rich atmosphere, like Sarabhaum Bhattacharya's home, and with Chaitanya Mahaprabhu personally being there, fault finding can still arise. A person who's determined to find fault can find fault even in Vaikuntha. A person can find fault even in the Supreme Lord, even in the most magnanimous form of the Lord, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who's perfect, impeccable in his behavior. Amogha criticizes Mahaprabhu's eating. Eating so much. And he was speaking very nastily, very enviously about what kind of sannyasi is this. Because of that offense, he suffers. You can see here in this scene, you see Amogha, if you look in the carefully, back in the distance, Amogha is running away, back in the distance, a tiny figure running away. You see Sarabham Bhattacharya, and then of course Sarabham Bhattacharya's wife, he called her Shatir Mata. And Sarabham Bhattacharya is holding a stick because he chased off his son-in-law with a stick. Like, how dare you say this to Mahaprabhu? And then now he's apologizing, and Shatir Mata is really crying back there. It's a pretty big offense. So, because of that offense, Amogha suffers. But Mahaprabhu does not merely punish him, he reforms him. That's the point here. He tells him that the heart of a Brahmana is meant to be pure and free from this envy. In this way, even correction becomes part of his mercy. So this, you can see Amogha, he was struck with a very bad disease. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came and gave him the mercy. He said, look, your heart. This is not appropriate. So here we see two great forms of expansion. Mercy moving outward through his preachers, and mercy moving inward to reform envious hearts. So we have to be really careful in our dealings as well with each other in criticizing. We have to be really, really careful. Is it my place to criticize? Is it my responsibility to criticize? Is what I'm saying motivated by the right thing? Yes, of course, there's a genuine case to make a complaint and all that. We have to be sure, is it genuine? Where is it coming from? If it's coming from a place of envy, we have to evaluate our own envy and our own hatred and our own shortcomings, and try to not let that affect our connection with the Lord and with the Lord's devotees. So we have heard of vast travels, profound theological discussions, intimate associates, giant festivals, royal humility, organized preaching, and the reform of offenders. But all of that is not merely to impress us. It is meant to train us. Mahaprabhu's mercy expands wherever there is sincere chanting and humble service and cooperation among devotees and the cleansing of the heart and the willingness to share this divine mercy, this divine sound with other people, with others. The point is not only to admire his expansion, but to participate in it. Like I said the last time, what we're doing in our own preaching efforts or in our own internal spiritual practice is an extension of Chaitanya Charitamrita. It's an extension of Srila Prabhupada's Lilamrita. The point is not only to appreciate Kirtan, but to do it, to participate in it, to embrace this feeling of the divine mercy as it comes in the form of the holy name and the vibrations of that sound. Do it. It's not only to study humility, but to practice humility. So this is serving as an invitation. Let us not leave these truths on the screen here. Let us carry them into life. Let us become channels, however small, but channels through which Mahaprabhu's mercy may continue to move. Purify ourselves, the river is a river of mercy coming through us, purifies our soul, our heart, but also offers access to that same mercy flowing to others. That's what it's about. So today we've watched mercy take on motion. We have seen Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's travels. He's traversing South India like a golden flood, awakening devotion place after place. We've seen him reveal the deepest theological truths in intimate conversations. We've seen him return to Puri and gather the exact associates needed for both his outer mission and his inner moods. We've seen him prepare the whole world for Rath Yatra through Kirtan, cleansing, and community. We've seen him dance before Lord Jagannath in the mood of Radharani's longing, turning a public festival into the revelation of the highest divine love. And we've seen a king humbled, devotees empowered, and even an envious heart reformed. This is why this session is called Expanding the Mercy. Because Mahaprabhu's love does not remain locked within one city or one circle of devotees or one moment. It spreads, it sings, it teaches, it travels, it delegates, it cleanses, it uplifts. It seeks out the fallen and strengthens the sincere. And now the question turns toward us. Will we only admire this mercy, or will we help carry it with our full enthusiasm to others? Will we only hear about the holy name, or will we chant it with depth? Will we only appreciate the preaching of others, or will we find our own place in this mission? Will we only speak of humility, or will we sweep before the chariot in our own lives? So let's leave with this image in our hearts. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu dancing before Lord Jagannath. What's he doing? He's drawing the chariot. The whole, not just that one chariot, he's drawing the chariot of the whole world toward Vrindavan, pulling every soul toward home, and inviting all of us to become instruments in that great movement of love. May our hearts be cleansed. May our voices be engaged. May our pride be softened, and may our service be sincere. And may we each in our own way help expand the mercy. Hare Krishna. So thank you very much for your kind attention and your valuable time. Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. So we have a few minutes. If anyone has any comments or questions, if you want to discuss some things, we can do some of that right now.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Sorry,
May I
Mataji.
speak? May I? I'd like to.
Sorry, Nirmal, go ahead first, yeah, since your hand is up. And then after that, I think we can have, see whose hand, okay, Nirmal first, and then Mitul is there, and then, if you can raise your hand this way I can see who's coming in the order, yeah? So Nirmal Prabhu, go ahead first.
Yes. Thank you, Prabhu. Thank you very much for insightful session. As usual, you've done amazing, so many things. I was making some notes of very briefly on particular things that I have to go through again. My question, Prabhu, is on the pastime of Amoga. On you mentioned about fault finding. How do you when you hear lectures from senior devotees, Maharaj, Prabhupada, there are a lot of important aspects on Vaishnava Prad. And how do you consciously, unconsciously not do that? How to avoid that? And main question, like main thing is that, sometimes everyone is human, even if you're a devotee, yourself, someone else. And there are certain aspects of nature that comes out and you have a bad experience from a devotee. How do you try and avoid that and try and see the good things, which is really important, and you face that especially when you are in service, whether you're giving service or doing service with people there on festivals? How do you do that?
This is a great question. Thank you. I'm just thinking, like, Amoga. This story of Amoga, right? It's a very powerful one because it actually reflects us. He saw fault even in the Supreme Lord. And yet, what is most striking is not his offense, but Mahaprabhu's response, his compassion, his forgiveness, the purification. So, how do we, first of all, practically avoid Vaishnava Aparadha? So, one thing is we have to separate the person from the behavior, right? That's famous saying, hate the sin, not the sinner. So, we're not asked to become blind, just become blind, see no evil. If someone's doing bad, just look away, pretend he didn't do it. That's not what we're saying. If someone behaves improperly, acknowledge it without defining them by it. Oh, he's that way. No, no, no. Acknowledge it that way, right? That, okay, it's happened, fine. Something was wrong is not the same as they are wrong. See, that's one point. Then another point, we have to look internally as well. We, like you said, we all are human. We carry conditioning. We carry wounds. We struggle. So when we remember our own imperfections, it softens the tendency to judge others harshly. But we have also become so conditioned to not see ourselves as imperfect. We want to see ourselves as perfect, and we don't ever apologize for mistakes. If we are that kind of person, we really need to change, because otherwise we think we're better than everyone else, and that can really hurt us. So be a little bit more sensitive and mindful to our own reality, our own conditioning. Okay. Another point, that's the second point. The third point that I can say, and this is a powerful discipline, even in very difficult devotees. Some devotees just difficult. Everybody knows them. Like everybody says that person is so difficult, but they're a devotee. Ask this thing. Consciously look for one good quality, one. What is the one thing they're doing for Krishna that even I am not doing? Can you find that? Seriously, think of the most difficult devotee, okay, that you've worked with, and think, what is the one thing they are doing for Krishna that I am not doing and not able to do, perhaps? That shift alone protects us. It protects our heart. That's the third point. The fourth point is guard the tongue more than the mind. The mind is hard to control. Thoughts may come. That's human, like you said. It's human. But speaking the criticism, especially to others or behind their back, it deepens the offense. So pause before verbalizing. You don't have to get into that conversation. Okay. And then meditate on Mahaprabhu's mood. He didn't reject Amoga, he reformed him. That is a standard. Not being naive, but think of a way to redeem. Now, you don't have to artificially, feel good about everyone. That's not what I'm saying. It's not possible to do for us. But you can choose not to minimize their connection to Krishna. Oh, what kind of devotee? He's not even a devotee. No, look, they're trying. Yes, they may be difficult. Maybe they have many bad habits or harsh qualities or they're unfair, whatever. That is the essence is I may not understand them. I may even feel hurt. But Krishna is still seeing something in them. That one thought can protect us from aparadh, keep our hearts soft, which is ultimately what bhakti is meant to do. It's difficult to do bhakti when you're in a society of devotees. At the same time, it's also easy to do bhakti in society of devotees, both. You see, it's both. We need the devotees to associate, but you also need to be very careful because not all devotees are the same level. You know? And so we have to go there. Oh, what kind? I thought you guys are devotees. How can you behave like this? Oh, no, no. Understand, not everybody is the same level. Once you understand that, uh, and you approach it with wisdom and protect your softness of your own heart, protect it fiercely without being naive. That is the narrow path that we walk. All right, Nirma? It's a very vast subject that you asked for, but I think it's a start. Okay. Yes, Mitul Prabhu, please go ahead. Mitul Prabhu, followed by Trupti Mataji.
Hi, Krishna Prabhu. Wanted to ask this point that you mentioned kind of near the beginning, and it kind of reminded me of a conversation I was having with the devotee recently. It was the point about how you're saying that certain stages of progressing in spiritual life, you're saying it's not enough. You have to go higher. You have to go higher. The one that particularly was about looking after family. You know, do you remember that point that was being made? Yeah. And so, one of the things I was just trying to, with the devotee that I'm speaking to, saying, trying to understand that what can I say to him, saying, yes, there is family responsibility, but there's also spiritual, your own spiritual growth as well that you need to give time to. So I found that point really, really helpful. Thank you. And I don't know if there's anything more you wanted to say on that.
Yeah, no, thank you. It's a very good point. In most religious circles, doesn't matter Hindu, Christian, Islam, doesn't matter. Family life is exalted, it's glorified. It's true, isn't it? It's a good Christian man, a good Hindu man, or whatever. Like he takes such good care of his family. It's a clean, honest living, and he takes care of his wife very nicely. He raises children as good Hindus or good Christians or whatever. And that's considered like so great and so exalted. And it is great because nowadays it's so hard to find someone who takes that level of responsibility, that level of sacrifice. It's not easy to do to raise a family. It's huge. Someone who's selfless is trying to live a clean, pure life without, getting drunk or without having any of the bad habits and, exemplary, honest living and so on. Just pulling that off is so rare that sometimes it comes across as that's the highest possible thing. That's the most religious thing you can do. Some people say, for me, the main thing is being good to people and to take care of my family. If I do that, I've succeeded in life. I don't need to have anything more. That's, for me, that's as good as God. So because that's so rare, some people think that's as good as God. But of course, we know when we go deeper, it's not nearly even close. Not saying that's not important, but relative to the eternal cycle of the soul, it's pretty small. I mean, if you look at the Ramananda Rai Samvad, right, the conversation, Ramananda Rai begins by recommending Varnashram Dharma. Mahaprabhu says, what's the most important thing? He says, Varnashram Dharma, taking care of your family, taking care of your duties. What does Mahaprabhu say? Eho Bahya. This is external, not because it's wrong, but because it is incomplete without devotion. The message is do your duties, do your responsibilities, but don't stop there. That's not everything. Another point is that the shift is internal, it's not external. So the teaching with Ramananda, it gradually evolves towards what? Acting for Krishna, offering the results of work to Krishna, and then ultimately acting in pure love. This means you don't have to abandon family. You have to transform your consciousness within family. And not just that, your family itself can become a vehicle for bhakti. Instead of seeing family as an obstacle, you can reframe it. You can say providing for them is a service. Relationships in the family become opportunities for compassion and humility and bringing Krishna in the center. The home becomes a spiritual space. It's no longer a house, it's now a temple. This aligns with Mahaprabhu's, what he told others, like the Kurma Brahmana, Stay where you are, but practice and share devotion. Stay where you are means don't leave your family. So the real danger is not family. The real danger is forgetfulness. So the question is not family or spirituality, but am I remembering Krishna in my life or becoming absorbed in temporary identities? So that's the message we can get from this section of the Chaitanya Charitamrita. Great question, Mitul Prabhu. Excellent. I hope that was a satisfying answer. Okay. We have Trupti Mataji. Please go ahead.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Thank you for your lovely association and class. Yes, quite a few of my questions were asked and answered when you answered Nirmal Prabhu's question. Just one more question, reference to that more Leela. That my question is that why he wasn't punished, traditional punished by for his behavior. Is it because the Lord is Patita Pavan and he delivers to the fallen, or is he the relative of Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya and he was a devotee? Or how is it similarly in our lives that when we fall, when we make mistakes, when we say things knowingly or unknowingly to the devotees, how can you please just a little bit in a elaboration, please? Thank you.
Yes, this is a great question, Trupti Mataji. Thank you. I'm very happy to see you, by the way. It's been a while since I saw you in person. So, why was he not punished? Actually, he was punished pretty heavily. He didn't go unpunished. He was struck with cholera. It's very heavy. I don't know if you've ever had cholera. It's intense. You feel like you're going to die. It's really bad. And in those days, cholera was life-threatening. Like, if you had cholera, is more chance that you'll die than you'll survive. It was that heavy. In those days, it was pretty bad. So there was a reaction to his offense. Okay, so it's not that he just went scot-free. But what is remarkable is what followed. Like you said, Mahaprabhu chose reformation over destruction. See, the Lord is not interested in punishing as much as he's in reclaiming. See, he wants to pull you back. He's not so interested in punishing. And like you said, his connection, his family connection did protect him. He was a son-in-law of Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, a great devotee. So association matters deeply. Even a negative person, just because somehow he got connected to devotees, he's a cousin or son-in-law, whatever, he gets extra special mercy. Krishna is so lenient. He has huge family discount. Even the stores, the shops, they have this family discount. If you're friends and family of an employee, you get discounts. Krishna is into that. Yeah, somehow you're connected, so I'm going to give you. So it shows the glory of the devotee who is connected to. Even if you're connected to a pretending devotee, you get benefit. Did you know that? Yeah, there's a verse in the 10th canto, Srimad Bhagavatam, Esham Ghosh Nivasi Namat Bhavam Gin Devarade Dinar Cheto Vishwa Phalad Phalam Tadaparam. It's a long verse. In that verse, Brahma prayers, Brahma's prayers after Brahma Vimohan Leela, you find that verse. Okay, it's verse number 35. And you will see Lord Brahma says that there's no greater gift than you, my Lord. And you gave yourself as a gift to Putana and her relatives. For what? For pretending to be devotee. She pretended to come and feed you as a mother, but she wanted to kill you. Even though she's just pretending to be devotee, you closed your eyes, because he closed his eyes. And he closed his eyes to not see the bad part. And he basically said, just because she was dressed like a devotee, you gave her the liberation that a devotee gets. And not just her. Putana api sakula. Sakula means her family members. Sadvesha deva putana api. Sadvesh means dress. Sadvesh means like satsang, sadvesh, dressed like a devotee. Just because she was dressed, she was pretending to be a devotee, you gave her liberation, and not just her family members, like Bakasur and those Agas. So similarly, this Amoghas pastime, same thing. Like you mentioned, yes, so it's good to be connected to a devotee, even if it's some distant. But what to speak of we trying to become devotee? You see, it gives us great hope. Like if Putana pretended to be devotee, if we are sincere, it gives us great hope, following the footsteps of the great acharyas. Another thing is that the Lord saw potential. Not just the offense, he saw the potential in a person. Yes, he made a big offense, but later on, I can see that once he transforms, he'll be a good devotee, and he did become a good devotee afterward. So maybe what we could also offer the Lord is, can we give him the opportunity to see potential in us? Yes, I'm bad, but do we have any redeeming value? Can we make that case in front of the Lord? My Lord, I have some potential. I know I'm so bad, but maybe there's some potential. Maybe there's hope for me. You see, so often we think justice means strong punishment. But in bhakti, a higher justice exists. It's a correction that leads to awakening. See, and that's what matters. So the real warning is not why wasn't he punished more, but if even such an offense required divine intervention to be forgiven, how careful should I be? So we should not be careless in our dealing. We should be very careful to avoid, to escape completely from offenses. We should be very careful. At the same time, there's still hope. Even if such a person was not rejected, how hopeful is my path? So we should have hope, but also extra caution. The story gives us both. Let us sit a little bit better, focus more, don't mess up. But also, don't be too paranoid. Krishna is very kind. Yeah? Okay, thank you, Trupti Mataji.
Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Okay, next. Yes, Prabhu, go ahead. You're next.
Prabhuji, I was a bit intrigued when you said about King Pratap Rudra demanding very strict attitude and etiquette to make him feel humble or make him humbled. And yet, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says to all living entities in this Kali Yuga. However much they have this, however many anarthas they have, and all the negative qualities, false ego, and all sorts of impurities, but it doesn't demand that kind of condition that he placed on King Rudra. Why so much demand on the king, and yet not on the ordinary people in this Kali Yuga, the age of Yuga Dharma, meaning anybody and everybody, however imperfect, however fallen they all carry on and be assured of the mercy of the Lord.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you, Prabhu. It's a good question. Why did he avoid the king? But he was freely associating with everyone else, lepers and this and that, and even animals, right? What's the deal? What did the king do? So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is setting the example because he is in the renounced sort of life. He's sannyasi, right? So for a sannyasi to become very close with people who are extremely wealthy or powerful is especially dangerous and forbidden. Not only spiritually, but also in terms of public perception. Oh, he's given up the world, but he's hanging out. His best friend is the king. He's constantly in the king's, quarters, giving him advice. He's probably hanging out in his rooms and having a good time, eating nice meals, and probably watching some of those dance shows and things. What people, it's not a good image. A king represents power, represents wealth, represents influence. If he freely associated with this too much, people might think, oh, spiritual leaders, they're just seeking favors from influencers, from rulers, from billionaires. So he set a very strict external standard. It's about example. It's not about rejection. You see, he didn't reject the king personally, right? And he gave mercy through associates like Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, Ramananda Rai. He encouraged the king. He sent him the cloth, right? He sent his cloth. He met with the king's son. He kept some distance, but he gave him some mercy. He acknowledged his devotion. He even guided him indirectly. He would send messages through these associates. So internally, there's acceptance, but externally, there was distance. You see, so he didn't completely cut him off. Now, the king represented the higher test. The others he would hang out with, they were not in such positions of opulence and influence. The principle is this, that the greater the material influence, the greater the caution is required. So for a renunciate sannyasi, associating with ordinary people is one thing. The powerful ruler is another thing. Now, another point, Mahaprabhu did this particularly is to intensify and kind of really bring out the king's humility and devotion. Because it's distance, you see, Prataparudra became extremely humble. He gave up his garments, royal garments, and he swept the road before the Lord, this Rath Yatra. And he approached in a simple, surrendered mood. Only then did he get the embrace. So you see, this rejection gave the king a depth of despair, the spiritual despair that we should also try to get. We should despair for the Lord. My Lord, I have no feeling for you. I've been trying chanting all these years and nothing had come in my heart. It's a kind of despair. It's very uplifting, believe it or not. Creates a sense of urgency. It makes us humble. So this pastime teaches us two truths. That as leaders, spiritual leaders, they must maintain strict personal standards. And then, of course, those are sincere seekers, regardless of their status. We can attain mercy through humility. Humility is a channel through which even normally those people are blocked, they can access the Lord. Kings are blocked, but because of humility, he changes basically his identity. I'm not the king, I'm just an ordinary guy. So it's not that the Lord avoided the king because he was unworthy. He avoided him because the position of king requires that caution. And ultimately, the very distance that purified the king, that's led to his purity. and led to his qualification to meet the Lord and get the Lord's full embrace. All right, Prabhu?
Yes,
All right.
before I finish, but when you talk about Srila Prabhupada, he was encouraging the devotees to build association, strong influence and association with
See, look at
influential
Chaitanya.
people.
Look at Chaitanya. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he told Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya and others to stay with the king, right? He would encourage them to go. See, those are disciples, right?
But didn't Prabhupada himself associate with such big people as well?
Prabhupada himself did as well. Prabhupada himself did. In fact, he told, so that's the thing, is that it's a different time now, of course, and so that's the thing, is that right now it's a different time and place. Of course, he was still very careful,
Yes.
He was very, very careful with that, So
Thank you,
it's a change of time, place, and circumstance that we have to evaluate. That's a good question. Thank you.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
There you go. Yes, Hiral, please go ahead.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, it was amazing class. Thank you so much. I would like to ask you is when Mahaprabhu saying the Jagannath deities, so they both are Krishna. Now, when he tried to love the Krishna, how do we see the Krishna try to love Krishna himself?
So, of course, Lord Jagannath is Krishna, and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is Krishna. But they are Krishna in two different moods. You see, Jagannath is Krishna in a particular emotional state. Who is Jagannath? What is Jagannath's emotion? See, it's a deity form. We don't know what is emotion, but we understand from Shastra. Jagannath has a deep emotion state as well. That is Krishna. He is feeling overwhelmed in separation from the residents of Vrindavan. Krishna, he had left Vrindavan for many years. And he was now living in Dwarka. And this time he had come to visit Kurukshetra. And the residents of Vrindavan heard about, oh, Krishna is going to be there. Let's go and see him. And he's sitting in the chariot, and the gopis and everyone are pulling that chariot. Now, when that happens, this is Krishna feeling that separation from Vrindavan, because he's missing the flute playing, he's missing the rasa dance, and especially he's missing Srimati Radharani. So his intense separation. His large eyes, right? His large eyes, a unique form. Why does it have that unusual form? That form is Krishna's changed. His form changed because of intense ecstatic love, Mahabhav. His eyes became big. His arms got pulled inwards. So, when Mahaprabhu is in Radharani's mood, by the way, although he's Krishna. That's why he has this golden color, because Radha has golden color. Krishna, if he had just come Krishna by himself, he would have been dark color. But when he comes to Radharani's mood, and the Radharani's mood overcomes him, he turns him golden. He came to experience Radharani's mood. You see, that's the point. So when Mahaprabhu sees Jagannath, it's like Radharani's spirit seeing that separated Krishna. He sees Krishna in deep internal emotion. He sees the emotion of Jagannath. Oh, is that your daughter? Hi. What's your name? Sorry, I didn't hear that.
Can you say loudly?
Isha.
Aisha, that's a beautiful name, Aisha. So good to see you, Aisha. So, Mahaprabhu's vision is Vrindavan centered. You see, Mahaprabhu is Krishna in the mood of Radha. So he's saying Jagannath, that's Krishna in Dwarka mood, while remembering Krishna of Vrindavan and feeling the intense separation. Oh, you look so different in Dwarka mood. Don't do this. Put down your crown and take up your flute. It's feeling the intense separation. So this creates waves of divine ecstasy, the union and separation simultaneously clashing, you see. So this Rath Yatra itself reveals the inner meaning That's why we celebrate Rath Yatra outside in public. It's the biggest, it looks like a big, colorful festival that even for strange people, even people who don't know what it's about, it's something strange. But for us, it represents the deepest of the deep. Externally, Jagannath goes from the main temple to Gundicha temple. Internally, Krishna is being brought back to Vrindavan. And Mahaprabhu / Radharani's mood is drawing him back. And that's the Leela, that's the show that's being put on for us. Of course, not just a show, it's genuine feeling of the Lord. It's not drama. You see, the Lord comes to experience, to feel, and he displays it in front of us for all of us to see. So when he sees Jagannath, he's thinking, here is my Krishna, but not fully in the place I want him to be. I long for him. It's like seeing a loved one in a different setting, in a different mood. This is the same person, but your heart responds only to your relationship with them. It's not that Mahaprabhu is loving someone else. He's loving Krishna so deeply that every form, it reveals new emotions. And every one of these visions, it intensifies remembrance of Krishna. That's what it's all about. Okay, does that help, Hiral? Yes, thank you. Hare Krishna. All right, we're out of time, but I see Bintia wants to say something. Please go ahead, Bintia.
Hare Krishna Prabhu. I've got a question. I was just thinking, when you mentioned that Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was in a mood where he was thinking Jagannath Ji in the Rath is Krishna in a chariot and he's been taken back to Vrindavan. So Lord Chaitanya was at that time thinking of the mood that Krishna is coming back to Vrindavan. But is there any description or anything that explains when Jagannath Ji was taken back to the temple where Chaitanya, because you once mentioned that Lord Chaitanya fainted even when he first met Jagannath Ji. So would this kind of bring back that mood of Radharani where she felt the separation, where Krishna is going away from Vrindavan when he goes back to Jagannath Puri? I'm not sure if it makes sense.
Yeah, so this pastime in Kurukshetra of the gopis pulling the rath?
Yes.
The pastime didn't really happen physically. It happened only in the hearts and minds of the Vrajvasis. They didn't really actually pull the rath. It was completely in their minds only. But it's described like that, yeah. So there's no going back because they never really pulled him back anyway. It's just a manifestation of their longing and their missing feeling. But it's becoming manifest in realities in Jagannath Puri. So once the chariot goes from Jagannath temple to Gundicha temple, it's not like there's another wave of separation when it's going back on the return journey, although they could be. But Mahaprabhu does faint a lot during the entire Leela. He faints when he first sees Jagannath, he faints in between, then he jumps, and so all kinds of emotions and waves are happening. Ultimately, the point of this whole Leela is to show us that it's not about union or separation. It's about intensity of love. And in separation, the intensity is more. And the intensity of love is what the soul is seeking. And also what Krishna is seeking, intensity of love. And if you really think about it, it's all what we are looking for, even in our life. So ultimately, this will boils down to if we can purify our heart enough to appreciate that feeling. There's a story, there's a pastime where Radharani is holding hands with Krishna. She's like so close, just inches away from him, face to face. And then she closes her eyes and she feels intense separation, feeling that, oh, where's my Krishna gone? Even though both her hands are in his hands. They are in union, they're united, but she's feeling, oh, my Krishna has gone somewhere. And she falls in a deep sense of separation and she passes out, she faints, even though she's right there with him. So she's, you see, it's hard for us to understand these things, but the point to see is that the separation feeling is not that different. In fact, it's more intense. And so to enact these pastimes, to really feel the waves and to give us conditioned souls, fallen souls, a glimpse into what's possible Mahaprabhu comes. There's a nice bhajan, you should look into that, written by Vasudev Ghosh. It's called Yadi Gaur Na Hoita. You might have heard that bhajan. If you've not heard it, listen to it. Yadi Gaur Na Hoita, Tabe Ke Hoito, Kemane Dharitam De, Radhar Mahima Prema Rasa Sima, Jagat Jane Toke. If Gauranga didn't come, how would the world know Radhar Mahima, the greatness of Radharani, and the ultimate pinnacle, the limits, the boundaries of Prema Rasa, the ecstatic taste and mellows of love? If Mahaprabhu had not come, we would have no clue. So that bhajan is very sweet. Like, look it up. Yadi Gaurna Hoito. Try to sing it. Snehal has very kindly shared that here from the ISKCON Desire Tree. Yadi Gaurna Hoito, and you can read it, read the translation. It's incredible. You should sing it if you have like gatherings like Bhakti Rikshas or other kind of gatherings. Look it up, sing it, it's very beautiful. Get into this mood, then you'll get an appreciation of these teachings of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and the pastimes. Right, Bintia? Hope that helps. Okay, well, my obeisances to all of you again. Thank you all very much. Thank you, Snehal Prabhu, for very kindly coordinating. Thank you, Shilen Prabhu, for encouraging me to keep coming. Thank you, Tutti Mataji and all devotees. Geetida Sundari Mataji is also here. Thank you all for coming. I see Gail Mataji. My obeisances to you again and again.